Hello, this is Dale Matthews. You can see I'm at a dramatic angle this evening. I'm joined by Mike Jones, who's not at a dramatic angle, and also with Bill Hunker, who maybe, we don't know, he's sitting someplace else.
Yes. I would not have known that you were sitting at a dramatic angle there.
Oh, man, just look at this.
Yes.
Look at now. And so I'm facing this guy right here and eternity. And with this guy has a question for Bill Hunker. Now, Bill, this is a yes or no question. This is Mark Goins, famous Mark Goins, from the video where he was accusing a number of us of doing something. The yes or no question to you, Bill, is, have you stopped worshiping Satan and criticizing county officials? Yes or no?
No. That would be no.
Why are we talking to this guy? We're probably going to hell now.
Have you stopped being your wife? Yes or no? Right. So, all right. So
I'm assuming that we're in the levity part of the show.
Oh, the levity part?
No,
yes,
this is serious policy.
No, I thought you were anti-levity. No, wait. He's anti-levy. I get it. Okay. They didn't like being called anti-levy. They were sort of, no, we're pro-choice. No, that's not what they liked either. I don't think he'd like that. Okay, so just before we go back to this guy and the numbers over my other shoulder, I wanted to share a little bit of a story with you. This is very brief from the Oregonian. I can only tell you just a little bit about it. There was an article that was posted by the Oregonian today where they're talking about the PERS and public employee retirement system and its effect on our pocketbooks. And apparently there's been a new rule where it looks as if everybody, all the counties across the state are going to be paying more for PERS, and more is going to be coming out of your pocket. So we have not had time to digest this yet. We will look at it. We will tell you what we think that we know about its effect on us locally. That's in the Oregonian. We try to bring you the news. At least
everyone who is surprised about this, raise your hand. Yes, that's what I thought.
I can't tell if Bill is raising his hand or not.
His hand's not raised.
I actually just sat on my hands right there.
Yes. Well, I think the commissioner.
How is he holding the phone?
The commissioners would prefer that you sit on your hands. So I don't know if am I on with you?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
So
yes,
weird.
You're back. Dale, I'll tell you what happened. Here's an interesting thing. It said the call has ended due to a server error.
Wow. Okay.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you hear me as before?
And now you know.
Okay. I'm hoping that you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So we've had this controversy with the sheriff. Now, we talked to him about it, and apparently the last time that we were on with Bill Hunker, Bill had said a couple things about the new numbers. These are the numbers we've been waiting for. Remember, we were all told by the people who were pressing for the levy that well, yes, the numbers, the crime numbers, we only know them through 2012, but wait till you see these figures. You guys remember this. Wait till you see the figures from 2013, 2014. That'll prove everything that we've said is completely right. Crime is skyrocketing in our county. You say you want the numbers. Well, wait till these numbers come out. Well, we've got half the numbers. We were waiting for 2013, 2014. At their suggestion, we have half of the numbers. And Bill Hunker is going to try to get the other half. He's been trying. They promised us we'd have the numbers, but we don't. Okay. So, but we have half of them, and those numbers don't verify anything that the pro-levy people have said. In fact, the opposite. So Bill,
with one exception that property crime is up in the city.
Right. But this is not what the county voters were voting on, but quite right. To both of you. You're both wonderful guys. Okay. And I definitely approve. So,
but shut up while I'm talking.
Oh, no. That's good. You can go right ahead and talk. Just mute. Okay. So we played that, and we didn't know what Bill was going to say. I mean, who knows what Bill's going to say from one moment to the next? Does he? And so he went ahead and he talked to us about that. Well, the sheriff wasn't very happy with that. What? Well, wait a minute. We're hardy Americans. I mean, if we've got half of the numbers back and they're not verifying what you said and what your supporters said, not sheriff supporters, levy supporters, because they're not really supporting the sheriff these days. We are. That's weird.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't very happy. And he said, well, I think I'm just going to take a break from being on your show. Oh, really? So I saw him in the hallway and I said, listen, if you've got some things that you think are bugging you about, come on the show. Let's have it out. Tell us all about how we're wrong. We're hardy Americans. We can take this and you can come on and talk with Bill and explain to him how he's full of it or whatever. No, I think I'm going to, hey, wait a minute. What? I mean, okay. You knew when you're running for this, there was going to be a little politics. And if you have somebody that's saying something every once in a while, which doesn't agree with you completely, then you talk to them. We do all the time, Mike, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I do a show with Dale every night. Case closed. You know?
Well, I'm called all kinds of names by the county commissioners, especially after we shoot a video of them and just put the video up, not even talking about it. You're a lying maggot and you've got voices in your head. And all we did is play back the video. You're criticizing a camera. It's not even us. All right. Oh, you're a terrible guy. You know, you're responsible for all the evils. People watch your show. They're also responsible. Hey. So we've learned, I guess, a little resiliency. This tough police guy can't take it. Well, wait a minute. If you think that you've got all kinds of facts and figures to back up what you're saying, let's see them. Here's what happened when we talked to him in his office on that same subject. Mike?
One of the things that hurt the levy supporters was the levy opponents said, one of the things levy opponents said in the last election was, we have numbers from the state that say that the crime statistics are not as high as you say. And the levy supporters said, no, wait, we've got plenty of anecdotal evidence. Well, it's pretty obvious that anecdotal evidence wasn't making it with people. And so the question one would have for levy supporters and for the sheriff's department is, are you going to be able to use the tool that you insist exists of a rising crime rate to bolster your position next time around? And there will be a next time around.
I'm not, and right now I'm not in the position to even, I am so far from trying to push for any type of a levy again. I mean, the citizens have pretty much, made their point. They like the services at the level they're at, or at least are acceptable to the level.
We still like the numbers. We still want the numbers. I mean, it gives you credibility, doesn't it? Extra credibility.
Sure. Thanks, Dale. Sure it does. Incredible.
At the time that seemed kind of funny, except, wait a minute. Now, wait just a doggone minute here. You think the credibility is so good that you don't need the numbers? This is what I was talking about. What? Yeah. How are you going to keep credibility if you continue to say that, the numbers will support everything, but they don't? You just lost an election because of that.
Yeah.
It's
this.
And the some of the numbers that they hauled out at the time, particularly the 850% increase in the participation of OSP, that was their big flag at the moment, and it went to nothingness. And particularly after we got the numbers for 13, are very interesting. That OSP you just can't haul out anymore as being the savior for the county, and boy, we're being hated by the state because we're burning up so much OSP manpower and so forth. So we'll take a look at that a little later.
Well, look, write this quote down correctly. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, and everybody knows that.
Dale
Okay?
does not know what the heck he's talking about. Okay, hang on.
And everybody knows that. Okay, when it
And
comes
everybody
to
knows. Okay.
when it comes to things like, how much crime do we have? The only proof that I have personally is what the sheriff says, what people who want to raise property taxes say, and what the numbers are from the state that either back that up or don't. And they don't just make up the numbers, I hope. Although I wondered sometimes during the election time whether people were, but we have to depend on that so we'll know who's talking, who's saying things correctly. For example, here's this guy over my shoulder. We can go look up Bible verses for ourselves. We may not need, as they need apparently in some churches, someone to translate it for us. Okay, we can go look it up. When Cheryl Walker says something, and she was just picked by that sneaky review or whatever the name of that, it's the best commissioner ever, okay. When she says something, we can go look up the state rules because it's written in English and we can go look it up for ourselves. Well, the same thing should be for these numbers. Oh, you can trust us. That's why I don't understand why that was so funny. You can trust us. Okay, we'll go look at the numbers. Oh, the numbers show that what you just told me may not be true, or maybe is definitely not true. Now, wait a second. How do you expect me, just me now, not talking about these other two guys, how do you expect me to vote for that when you can't prove anything? It's just based on your word?
Yeah.
Well, and
anecdotal.
right. And not only that, if you use a little bit of, analytical thinking here, you see all this data and you see, well, this stuff doesn't add up here to, we have these numbers, we have these stories about numbers, and, and on its face, which one of those do you like better? Or let's mix even half of what these people say is going on and mix it into these numbers, and it still doesn't add up to a crime wave. So, they had a huge hurdle to get over, and now, we have this thing, and it's continuing now. This 850% thing. When we were in here doing this interview with the sheriff, he gave us some more of that, and I wish I would have grabbed that piece of paper because, it talks about how, the numbers year to year in their their 2015 year to date numbers of crimes or reported crimes that the contract sheriff in Cave Junction is dealing with are hugely elevated, hugely. I mean, it's astronomical. The elevation of these numbers. So that just makes me fearful because, listen, nothing goes up 850% year over year unless, if I won the lottery, maybe my spending would have gone up 850% year over year. But things typically, and especially stuff like this, it doesn't happen like that.
And before everybody says, that's the fault.
Changes.
Before everybody says that's the fault of this sheriff. Now, hold on a second. You may recall when your favorite guy, those who are saying this, Gil Giberson, was in office. He came back to the public and said, and made a public speech, talking about how crime had gone up. The number of homes that have been burglarized had gone up by 9%, was now at 9%. I'm not saying this right. 9% of all homes in Josephine County have been burglarized. And I'm looking at this, and and the Courier. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Hey, wait a minute. 9%.
I think you missed a couple of decimals there, perhaps.
9%, and they're how do you know? Because you're not. Now listen. 9%. And so we questioned that. Well, how can you question the thing? Well, you're always questioning everything. You guys are so negative. 9%. Well, later, during a weekly business session, Gil Giberson comes in the front door, drops a piece of paper on the little table there, when the table was still there, and then left. He didn't have anything to say to anybody. He left that up to the commissioners to explain that he was completely full of it. And none of that was, and don't do that at a press conference and then later retract it without really saying anything. That's your Gil Gilbertson. Now, I'm not saying he was always a bad guy and nothing but a bad guy. I'm not saying that. But do you, before you criticize this guy, because I kind of like this guy, but besides that, before you criticize him, don't forget that we've heard ridiculous numbers, and those were ridiculous, and they were false, from our sheriff, another sheriff, in the past, and it's only up to us to say, okay, no, wait a minute, does this make sense? And don't get upset with us when we ask that question, because no, we're not Satan worshipers.
Yes,
Thank
of course.
you very much.
It needs to be done. This reminds me of a story that happened back in the 80s, and it's
going to be a long story.
No, some black activist guy who was talking about how horrible slavery was, and don't get me wrong, slavery was horrible. He was talking about how hundreds of millions of slaves were thrown over ships, so many that, and he gave some number like 300 million of these people were thrown overboard from slave ships, and the sharks still swim the route to this day because of that. And then somebody did all the numbers and proved that there's no possible way that that could have happened. It was, far more than any that were even imported. And it was just completely a joke. And
no, wait.
You pull these numbers out of wherever you're pulling them from for political purposes. You have to be very careful that at least somehow they sound credible. Use a pencil and do some addition and make sure that it isn't crazy.
It's like going to the airport with Larry Graves there as the manager, and he said, what was it? He said thousands of people came to airport days. There were a lot of people there. There were not thousands of people there. There wasn't any need to exaggerate. Why exaggerate? Just, tell the truth as you know it. There's no need to do that. So what we try to do here is we bring this troublemaker Bill Hunker on, and we try to get him to tell us, what do we know, what don't we know, and let's just be a little logical about it, and don't give me another story about a poor old lady who was robbed at gunpoint. Okay, yes, that happens. Of course it happens. We're not stupid, and we're not in favor of chaos, but we'd like to know what the numbers are. If you're going to ask for us for greenback numbers, we're going to expect statistical numbers in return.
Right. And this is a very good point that Dale is making. And what it is that either side, if the anti-levy people come out with some numbers that sound crazy to you, do the math on it. There's a question everything. That is the whole point, I think, of this show. We're trying to question everything and find out what the truth is. We're not pushing an agenda, just for the sake of, hearing our gums flap here.
No, we're pushing an agenda so we'll make more profits.
Right. Yes. And when Dale, when's that going to start happening? By the way?
We got that loony lady on one of the Facebook pages. Who funds you? Nobody funds us.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out who funds you, and once I find out, once you find out, tell us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you know what, the checks have been bouncing here. So come on.
Right. Keep her close at hand. Maybe she'll find somebody.
That's right. Yeah, maybe
we're not going to talk about checks bouncing because that's international news, and we try to deal with local news. Tell us, Bill Hunker, what do you have for us now, sir? Please.
Well, we had mentioned, the day that I came on, I actually found the numbers had been posted somewhere in the previous 4 days, and I didn't get them till the morning that I was on your show. I actually pulled them out and found the new 13 numbers. So we very briefly went over it at that point, and the graphs that we had weren't very clear. So I've got to just kind of go over some old ground and then talk a little bit about OSP, which we have failed to talk about, but they are a reporting entity in our county and always have been. But we tend to talk about the sheriff and Grants Pass, forgetting that there is an OSP, because they do account for low numbers, and we don't pay much attention. But they have some significance this particular year in 2013. We'll talk about. So I don't know if you got the red graph up of the 204 to 213, which is basically 10 years we're looking at.
Okay,
for the county.
County crimes per thousand.
That's it.
Okay, here we go.
Now, don't forget, we've been waiting for the per thousand population, And so we're looking at the population of the county and the crimes versus. And so we're looking at here starting in 2004, 54, 53, and on down to 2013, adding it in, is at 25.
Wow. That's half of what it was.
2005, 10 years ago.
Amazing.
Okay, Bill, hold on a second. The reason I have to say, Bill, hold on a second, is sometimes it's difficult to hear each other over this with the kind of system we have, although it's pretty cool.
Okay.
This is the thing that we were waiting for. This is half of what we were waiting for. The strongest possible argument that the pro-levy people could give was the reason why your numbers, you guys are just so full of it, the reason your numbers don't bear out what we're telling everybody is that you don't have 2013, 2014. Wait till you got that. That's going to prove everything that we've said. And then the state withheld the 2013-14 numbers until now, way after the election. Isn't that sweet? But if you look at that last number over on the right, does that look like crime is, I'm not saying it's lovely, okay, but does that look to you as if crime is skyrocketing?
And it should be understood, this is the county with the exclusion of Grants Pass. Is that not correct?
Exactly. Okay. That is the county. These are everything reported by the sheriff, and none that were reported by the city of Grants Pass. So this is only county and taking into account the population of the county.
Okay, now, Bill, let me ask you, are there any annotations to this data that it was somehow incomplete with months missing, or what's the story on that?
They have a very nice new system. As we know, we've all been waiting for this because the waiting happened because they changed the way they were doing their computers. And so the whole way the report has turned out is all different than it's been for 20 years. But there's been some nice improvements. And one is that you end up being able to tell every single entity that reports monthly whether or not they did. Mm. And no, there is not a single where we have 12 check marks for 2013, all there. And, just because we think, well, maybe they missed it. I looked at Douglas County just beside us, and they had the only one that reported all 12 months was the city of Roseburg. The county and everybody else had some dropout during the year. Medford and Jackson County did have 100%. They had all their check marks in for every month. So you can check on every entity every month for the whole state as to whether they turned in or didn't turn in.
Well,
this is all turned in.
This is down from, we had 2012 where they released all the prisoners, and then we were supposed to have an explosion of crime, and 2012 didn't even turn out as high as 2011, and then 2013 is down another 10 crimes per thousand.
And look at these numbers.
I'm incredulous.
And look at these numbers. If you compare the one on the right with the one on the left, the one on the right's not even half of the one on the left. And so I tell you what, I make a prediction here. What's going to happen is the answer that we're going to get from this is going to comprise only 2 letters.
So,
yep.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? Clearly, this last election told us something very important: is that people are paying attention to this stuff. And they did find the numbers that we put out credible.
Yeah, they're as credible as the people turning them in, which is our sheriff and our county, our county sheriff and our police departments, and the OSP. I remember when a lot of the flack was going on during the levy election, that letters went in, and one man in particular said, "Well, I think that they're cooking the books, or they're not getting whatever." But you can depend on the OSP. I believe the OSP numbers, but I don't know about anybody else's numbers. And so I've got something here if we want to go into that.
Sure.
If you can go to the green OSP numbers, we've never put these out like this before. No reason other than they are just low numbers given the amount for the year.
That chart is up now.
This year. Okay, so 2004, you can just travel along there and see that slowly they've kind of gone up until a high of 2012. And people were picking up in 2012, at the last half of 2012, you know who jumped in and saved our neck was OSP. They took the midnight calls. They came out when nobody else was available, and imagine what 2013 will be. I'll bet you we turn everything over to them, and their numbers will skyrocket.
Right, and that story appears to be true by that 2012 number.
Right, 2012.
That's right. So you can imagine it going from 634 to maybe 750 or 800 or who knows what, given the hype.
But it's down about 100.
Their numbers were all turned in for 2013, and their total is 540 incidences that they were involved in for the whole county for the whole year.
Now, these are their numbers. These are not the local people are not responsible for this. The sheriff's department, we don't have enough people to even give you the numbers to give us credibility. Ha ha, why do we need credibility in this world of ours? You can just, leave now, Dale Matthews, for bringing such a thing up. This is Oregon State Police numbers.
Yep. These are the ones that the man said, oh, I believe their numbers. Okay, well, if you do, then you went from 634 down to 540 in 2013. Now, what's important here is that this red chart we just looked at 25, we took all, and that's 100% of the OSP numbers, that 540, and we took them all this year just in the county for the first time. Mm-hmm. Everything else I've done, I took OSP's numbers, and I did it proportionally. I ended up saying how much crime is in the city, how much in the county, therefore I will proportion the OSP numbers according to that ratio. So usually the city got about 80% of the calls that I gave to them because of the crime rate, and then about 20% I gave to the other. Whatever the math worked out to be, it was generally 80-20. So this year when I saw how low the crime was in the county, I ended up saying, oh, well, they're going to say that everything that the Oregon State Police handled was for the county because we were so shorthanded. So I said, okay, let me put everything that they handled into the county's numbers. So this 25 includes all of the OSP numbers for 2013.
Oh, really? Yeah, see,
yep.
I was going to ask you about that. If somehow those crimes per thousand include calls that were handled by OSP. And in this, and the chart that we looked at before, the red one, they do.
Yes.
Wow.
That 25 includes all of the OSP incident responses for 2013.
Go back, please.
And then, so that takes them out and away from any Grants Pass numbers. So let's go on to the blue 2004-2013 Grants Pass.
Okay.
Sorry.
And as you can see, we jumped in 2012 from 144. This is crimes per thousand. We're always looking at per thousand here. 144 crimes per thousand to 193 per thousand. So that's a jump. There's no doubt about it. Now, this is only in the Grants Pass population. This is not the county population. It's I think it's 35076 last year.
And Bill, this is total crime, isn't it? This encompasses
total crime,
all types of crimes.
All three areas of person to person, which we consider violent crime, property crimes, and then behavioral crimes. So these are all lumped together, and like it or not. And there's some good news for Grants Pass and for Josephine County that I can tell you right now. In drilling down in it, we are the lowest of Jackson and Douglas counties between them for violent crime, for the person-to-person crimes, both in the city and in the county. So
right, one of the things
people, go ahead.
Sorry, Bill. It's very difficult.
No problem.
One of the things you can see about this is there's no skyrocketing. Okay, so if you think of the number 150 and you go all the way across, well, except for the two brackets on the ends, which is important, they're all somewhere near 150.
Yep.
So it's not as if one of them is 800 or 850, as we've been told recently. It's not as if there's one that's skyrocketing above the. I'm not saying any crime is a good thing, but this is, as far as charts go, this is fairly even.
Yeah, it is. And if you want to look at it another way, we're back where we were in the city in 2004. Well, both Landis and Daniels worked in the city then, And I doubt that they were raging around and saying, "Oh my God, we're out of control. We're going to have to do something desperate here."
And both
they're a little
departments
less
were
than they
fully
were
funded.
in 2004.
And as Mike says, both departments were fully funded at that time. Both departments were fully funded at that time. What does this tell us about the efficiency of using money? Anybody, what does it tell us?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily equate to lower crime rate.
And what does it tell us about the number of employees that you have? I mean, I hate to say this, doggone it, that doesn't make any sense. But what does it say about the number of employees that you have versus the crime rate?
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah. You know.
Now the other thing that we got to put in perspective here is someone look at this and say, well, just like we told you, the crimes are going up. And look at what happened to Grants Pass. I mean, the county, but you know what they did is they all started to commute in then. Yeah, and they all said, oh, let's go down to where we have 4-minute response time and plenty of police, and let's do our crime there. Right. Since they lost everything in 2013, let's not go out in the county and be unfair to them. I mean, it's illogical what's being said about, well, they're all commuting in to do the crime in the city. No, the city is having a crime problem, and it's in property crime. Well, it's not in violent crime.
But Bill, as you recall, at the press conference that we both attended there, that was the kind of the major thrust of it, was that they were coming in, and that the numbers that we were given were false because they didn't account for the people coming in out of the county and you know, on pillaging rampages in the city.
Well, in the city, people, I'm sure there's not a single one that have ever thought we've lost funding and would think of going out at all to the county to do any crime with a 40-minute response time and 2 officers or whatever they have. I mean, it never occurred to anyone in the city to do that, I'm sure.
Well, listen, I think that we can count on criminals to be smart enough to do that sort of thing, go out to where it's a 40-minute response time, because we know that criminals are quite often attracted to gun-free zones if they want to shoot the place up.
Yep.
You know, it's the same principle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now, I showed up at the very end. I showed up at the. I did, you know. I showed up at the very end of that press conference because I was at a county commissioners meeting, but I was there in time to hear some of the questions toward the end. And one of the things that was said about Bill Hunker, who's not apparently the sheriff's favorite guy, is because Bill was mentioning numbers and this kind of stuff, is that the numbers that Bill Hunker had been revealing from the state were a myth.
Were myths, yes.
That's right.
You know, kill the messenger. It's like I go in at night and work on these and make them sound real. I mean, I just copy. Yeah. I'm a clerk. I'm a scribe.
Yes.
You know,
Mike, he is one of those little moles that sneaks around and does lesser services.
Yes.
That
Keith Heck referred to.
That's right.
Yeah. So this gives you a clear picture. So what it does, if you want to look at what you're seeing there,
if you want to look at what you're seeing,
yes.
I mean, if you want to understand what you're looking at, is that the blue 213 is actually down about 2.5%, and the county is up about 2.5% because I moved all the OSP over and to the county. So you're actually seeing the county take the whole hit for the OSP.
Oh wow!
So when we look at what we're doing,
in reality,
see if I can.
In reality, Bill, if I'm correct, then the county numbers would be actually even lower because you're just saying, hey, listen, I want to be fair. Let's take all of the OSP numbers and put them in the county, even if some things that they responded to were within the city limits.
Exactly.
Wow.
And what you have, because it got to be embarrassing, is you have basically before we accounted in 2013, the county accounted for 11.2% of the crime. And since I moved everything over from OSP to the county, it now accounts for 13.9, almost 14%. But that's significantly down from what they're claiming. You know,
Okay,
and now
so
that
everybody,
leaves them up at 88.
so everybody, how in the world do we explain this? How in the world? Well, first of all, we're not highly paid executives who need to explain it to you, but we're going to do what we can. Okay, so you may recall that there was one of those pro-levy gatherings where Bill Landis was there. He's the police chief for Grants Pass, and he was saying, we thought that once we did this new way of doing things, that would be running the wheels off the cars. As a matter of fact, he had indicated to us that it was their perception that they were running the wheels off their cars now that they had more jail cells to put people in. And he said, then they look back at their own numbers. This isn't us translating it for anybody. It wasn't Greek. It was in American English. And he said, once they looked back, they realized, you know, we weren't running the wheels off of our cars. We were actually making less arrests. These are highly paid professionals. I'm not putting them down, okay? I'm happy that they're there. It's great. I live in the city. Thank you for the protection. Thank you, Bill Landis. Hey, thanks, Dave Daniel. But my point is that if they were wrong about their perception, then why the heck are you mad at us for pointing out the real numbers and you just told us you were wrong? So let's just suck it up and admit it. You were wrong. So, you know, I have to admit that on a daily basis.
On a daily basis. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where we are, and there are some interesting things I'll be looking at between the various counties. But as I said, the good news, and I think very good news, because ultimately law enforcement, if we had to eliminate if we had all the list of what they go after, and we had to eliminate, we'd start at the bottom with behavioral crime and say, don't worry about those these. But when we come up to person-to-person violent crime, we start getting concerned that we have some backup, some help, some whatever. Well, of the three counties, pleased to show that is the lowest for per capita for our county, as opposed to both Douglas and Medford. So, there's good news. The guys that, I think even the city, which has had an increase, which I put it to economic development store, they've had their increase in crime, but they have done a great job and are continuing to handle what the economy has brought them, and the fallout from that, the continuing fallout, and they're dealing with it. It hasn't had the same impact in the county, and so the county has dropped off. Do we need sheriffs and patrols? Absolutely, we do, and I fully support that. But it's just interesting this year that we thought we'd see something flat to maybe slightly up, and here we are noticeably down, and the numbers are done. So we're looking for 2014 now to kind of round this on out.
Hey, Mike, let's do a little bit of a summary here if we can. Can you call up the blue chart, please, Mike? And then Bill's going to comment about our comments.
Okay.
Blue chart.
All right.
Okay, when you look at this blue chart, one of the big differences I think that we can all agree to is that our economic development during this period of time, has not been very good. And so when people aren't doing very well with money, then there is a tendency out there for crime to increase. I think that's logical. Of course, I thought other things were logical too. So this is with this is Grants Pass City Police, and you can see there's something that we did wrong in 2004 that was generally corrected, and then something we're doing wrong again now. Is it a function of economic development, which has been in the hands of Cheryl Walker for the last 3 years, or is there something that we can do with the number on the police force on both sides? I would submit to you, gentlemen, that it's not the terrific response times that's at fault. It's not the number of officers that are at fault with the city. It is economics. But compare this with the red chart.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me cue that. Okay.
Same economics,
yes,
but a lot less patrolmen.
Yeah. So where's the logic there? That's sort of divergent there.
It's, you know, I just think that continuously the county has been what I would consider safer because it's more spread out. When you collect people in cities, you have more crowding and more incidences and so forth. And you got to remember all of these. We're not talking about something that on a personal basis we say, well, you know, those guys got in fisticuffs and I don't really care and it's not too bad a deal. It includes all that. So where the numbers in the city are high, we're still not talking about violent crime high. We're talking about economically driven high, where there's tenseness, there's you know, a sense of stress throughout what used to be a vibrant city, and it has taken a dip and hopefully comes back.
Well, two things about that. One is now we're going to have a marijuana-driven high. And the other one is, gentlemen, take a look at these red bars here. During which of these years did a property tax levy pass? It's a trick question.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, you go all the way back. It didn't. And they had a big one in 7, by the way. You know, they pushed hard in 7 for a levy. I think it was almost $2, $1.98 or something.
Yeah. Well, and go figure, you know, back and listen, 2004, 2005, what you're looking at there is the end of full funding.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And then the numbers drop off massively after that. Does more cops on the street equal more crime just because they're catching people in the act of doing stuff? I
this
mean,
is my stupid joke summary of all this, is that less police end up with less crime. That's stupid. It was just a joke. But, I mean, look at the numbers.
Yeah, but we're seeing this correlation over and over again. You can't really ignore it. I'm not making it as a claim. I'm just saying it's notable. That's all.
Well, no wonder he doesn't want to show up on our show.
Well, in the county, they're not reporting anymore. And well, you and I both know that if it's of any importance at all, if there's blood, it's reported.
Of course.
And
pull up the OSP numbers.
It goes to OSP. Well, we picked up all OSP's numbers this year, so it's still down.
Now, so you took the OSP numbers and you
quit calling,
and you inserted them into the Josephine County numbers. Now, are people now saying that the OSP is underreporting crime because of some? No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is it conspiracy or lunkheads? Oh, man.
Now, Bill, we do have a couple other charts here. There are the percentages of crime, and then we also have the combined chart, city and county.
Yeah, the combined chart just gives a graphic and a fairly good graphic display of the difference visually when you're taking all the same numbers of how the city is where we get this generally 80% of the crime, and then we're at 20. Well, this year we're at 13%. And they're at 86%.
Yeah, wow.
But normally that's been 80-20, and everybody's reported. So
and that's because
in
the county we went down and they went up in the city.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so people with young children in the audience, take them away from the computer. This is the kind of thing we do every once in a while on the show.
Now.
No, that's not it. I can't tell by the graphics on here whether we're being shot or screwed.
Okay.
Help me with that.
Yes.
Oh, never mind. Yes. It's no good if you have to explain. You know, this. You can see that there's a gentle dip, okay? And then it comes back up for the city. You can see, which is why I asked Bill if he would break out the numbers into just the red bars, that there's no gentle dip and there's no skyrocket at the end. As a matter of fact, it's less. Now, we are going to get from the state at some point, and hopefully before the end of the year, the 2014 numbers. We need that, but we can tell you clearly that the argument from the pro-levy people that you just wait to 2013-14, everything that we're telling you, you can trust us, it'll all be borne out in the numbers, was just, Mike, can you think of the right word for what it was?
Well, it doesn't pan out in these numbers, clearly.
I think the word, Dale, is myth.
Yes, thank you.
You know what it was? It was a myth perception.
Yes, a myth.
A myth
yes,
perception.
it was your
There
myth.
you
It was your myth perception. Yes. Now, okay, so we do have a couple of other charts. These percentages. What do these things?
Mike, can we save the other charts for the next show next Friday?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
show's over, folks.
They're not very. There's not a lot of learning in them.
Oh, they're not any good. Then why did you give them to us? What kind of crap do you think we're trying to put out around here?
Yeah, and by the way, I'm going to go into some depth here with some breakouts just to look at things like numbers of employees in the counties that surround us, and even in the departments, that kind of thing, and we can talk further. I'm struggling with some of the new format of the report that they put out of Salem, which I think they're struggling with too, and I'm going to have to talk to them on Monday or Tuesday and square up some things before we talk further.
Now, Bill, you had mentioned that there is something screwy about the numbers that are reported versus, explain that.
Well, they reported all of the crimes very accurately, and then they subtotaled them quite accurately, particularly perfectly in the first two, person and property. But in the third category, they're slightly off, 10, 12, 15, maybe 30. And I'm looking at 3 counties now. But when they do the grand total of all the crimes, across everything, there seems to be a problem. And I can't identify what it is other than it's significantly off. I mean, that's what drove me to it, is because I just roughly went through and said, okay, double check myself here. Oh, whoops, just a minute, these don't add up. Well, they don't add up. I finally ended up doing an entire spreadsheet of the county on my own, matching all their numbers and double checking them, and then found that their grand totals don't add up. So I think they've done some sort of formula in their spreadsheet that reached over somewhere and no one's caught it. It's picking up old numbers or old data or something.
So I'm
going to call them and find out what that is.
Everybody. It's not just us. It's everywhere in the whole state. So Bill's going to try to find out on Monday what's going on, and he's going to come and join us on Friday with that information if they're able to give it to him, right?
Well, yeah, but let me ask you something, Bill. Those differences, does that account? Has that affected the numbers for the 2013 numbers?
No. It's just, and it looks like it's just a almost typographical error in the grand total. And when I have my spreadsheet work the grand total, all of the crimes are there in all the jurisdictions and all of the reporting agencies for everybody. They're all fine.
So you're taking all the subtotals. You're coming up with your own grand total. You're not depending on them for that.
I just did every one of the crimes by every one of the agencies is detailed as to what it was. There's larceny and theft and kidnapping. I mean, just all the way down through. Well, those are all there. You can see every single number of everything that happened in the counties, and the agency that turned that particular number in. So that all adds up, and that is what is reported by the agencies. But when they did their summary page at the very bottom of grand total is off, and it's off a lot. So I know there's some sort of just computer error that they're sneaking by them some way. So I'm going to go find out about that and see if they've reconfigured that.
And you'll talk to us about that next Friday then.
I'll be glad to.
Cool.
So one of the things that we do in all the videos that we post and in this show is we come in with a questioning attitude. Okay, you're going to tell us something, all you have to do is prove it. Or if you're going to quote something, just tell us where you found that. Or if you're going to say something is true, just try to give us a second source, would you please? And so we have a guy that we know that said, I'm getting 1 million hits a day on my website. Okay, show us how, or show us the numbers. We got another one where the sheriff, the previous sheriff says 9% of the homes have been burglarized. How does anyone get insurance? That just didn't make any sense. Okay, so we asked for proof of that. Doesn't that make sense, Dad? If we put a plaque on a rock, that's going to create 90 new full-time family wage jobs. No, that doesn't make any sense to begin with. But we'd like to see those results. How many of, only 89? We want to see the numbers. That's what we do. That's the questioning attitude that we have. Well, we got plenty of people, even on that one, who said, why would you question? Why would we question it? What, are you insane?
And the questioning, Dale, while you were talking about that, I ran the math real fast because, 85,000 people in the county, 9% is 7,650 just burglaries. I mean, we barely get that many crimes that take place in the county in a year. And that was 7,650 burglaries only, not accounting for anything else. Boy, that year would have looked like this.
Well, I personally got right over the call on this one. I was on Bill Meyer talking it on KMED, and some guy calls in, well, how do you know? Because you weren't there for every crime. Well, how do I know? Well, listen, I'm just questioning whether it makes any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So and we got a police report about Simon Hare and this stupid thing that he did in that bar, and Cheryl Walker says, well, you weren't there, so that's all hearsay. We can't report on anything now. It's in the police report. My speech to you is about the police report, not about you say you don't go to bars. No, I don't. Well, then you don't know. No, wait a minute, I'm talking about the police report. Okay, so we're hardy enough to question things, despite what this guy may think. We're also hardy enough to say, well, that doesn't quite exactly ring true. In this county? Yeah. Okay, and so then all we say is, if you've got the numbers, share them with us. Well, I don't want to talk with you anymore because you keep asking me about the numbers. Snap out of it. That's what the job is about. We're just not going to automatically believe anybody, including Mike, and definitely not Bill Hunker. So we want to know what the truth is, and we're going to try to find out what it is and stop kicking us and calling us names. Really, literally names for questions.
Dale apparently gets a lot of abuse here. I have not been kicked or spit on or anything.
Yeah, you've seen the weekly business session. I know why you don't show up there anymore, because I'm the one that gets all the grief. Sandy Casanelli says something, they're jumping all over me.
I want some of that grief. Why can't I get some of that grief too?
Yeah, right.
Unfair.
Yes.
That's right. So, okay, so we're going to join with you, our audience, in asking questions about things and taking the numbers that we get with... It don't make any sense to me either, but they are the continuing numbers. And when you look at these trends, and we're about looking at trends here, as you know, and patterns, what we're being told here, even by the police chief, I like this guy. We were sure that this was happening. And then it turns out he told us that they looked back and their perceptions were wrong. Well, this last election was all about perceptions. And if your perceptions are wrong, stop trying to get more money from us until you can prove that your perceptions are right. Mike, tell us the truth here.
Well, or make a case for getting more money from us despite crime not going up. Say, hey, we just we want nicer cars. Give us more money.
Well, the city doesn't bother with the vote. The city just puts it on your water bill. Yes, what's this doing on my water bill?
Yes, but they do have to pass a levy every certain number of years, and they do in the city. The people in the city of Grants Pass, they vote for the levy every single time, almost every time.
Well, now they've got the Grants Pass City. No, they don't. Now the Grants Pass City Council has the Grants Pass Chamber of Commerce fighting against them, and we're going to try to bring you the video of the new publisher of the Courier. This is what I've heard. We got to get the video, and be sure, don't take my word for it. You have to see the video of the new publisher of the Courier saying, if you go through with this city tax, we will sue you.
Really?
Ah, well, it looks like some headline grabbing material right there.
Wow.
But wait for the video, because, see, especially on stuff like this, that's so amazing that I'm going to want to see that video too. I had to wait to see this guy's video where he was saying that, you know, basically that our founding fathers were rebelling against authority, so guess they were Satan worshipers. That's not what he said, but isn't that the conclusion?
I'd love to know what the basis of this was. Are they worried that the tax added to the price of their newspaper is going to kill their business?
You think?
Well, that's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
All right, but if you read the article recently written by Jim Moore, he says that prepared foods will be taxed, but unprepared foods, which are most of your groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know about you, but unprepared foods like raw carrots are not part of my diet. Well, I have nothing against them. That's not most of my groceries.
You know, they did a study, and everyone who has died or everyone who has eaten carrots has died eventually.
Oh, man.
Is
Yeah,
that
I
right?
know. And you never see rabbits wearing glasses. I get the point, but
Yes.
thank you for that summary, gentlemen. Thank you very much, Bill Hunker. Bill will be back with more verifiable figures and very little anecdotal evidence, and we'll take a look at it. And if you still want, or if you're viewing the show, but if you still want to rely on anecdotal evidence, I don't care what the numbers are. I know that you guys are funded by George Soros, or no, I know you're funded by the Koch brothers, or whoever you think is funding us. If you don't believe anything, then
Send us a check.
then this is the wrong show for you.
Yes.
Thanks.